conversations about, how the Rumble has been booked since Triple H has taken over, kind of segues into our episode that revolves around Triple H, the wrestler, the person, the booker, the executive. This episode was partially created because of the news that we heard this past week about Triple H being inducted into this year's WWE Hall of Fame. So it looks like he's going to be the headliner. And this was per multiple reports. There was a meeting earlier in the week where Triple H basically had this company-wide, I guess you can say meeting. It was like there was a stage and everything. And The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels walked out, and it looked like Triple H was pretty surprised. He just looked behind him like, what the hell's going on? Why is there theme songs playing? And they broke the news that he would be inducted into the Hall of Fame this April in Las Vegas during the WrestleMania 41 weekend. And Triple H has already been inducted previously as a group with D-Generation X. They didn't do Evolution yet, right? So I feel like they still have to get inducted. But he's been as a group before, so this would be his... Undertaker has been inducted, and so is Shawn Michaels. So I feel like it makes sense for Triple H to get his own. And he would never do it. Someone else would have had to, induct him because he's too much of that kind of guy. But, I mean, just think about Triple H as a person, what he's done. He is a 14-time world champion. He's a 5-time WWE Intercontinental Champion, 2-time WWE European Champion, 3-time tag, 2-time Royal Rumble winner in 2002 and 2016. He probably has one of the widest gaps between Rumbles. Between Rumble wins. And former King of the Ring in 1997. So what do you guys think about Triple H being inducted into the Hall of Fame? Do you feel like it is the right time for Triple H to be inducted, or should it have happened later, sooner? Chris, what do you think?
I think there's definitely a crescendo as far as the product itself in the air. I think it's a nice kind of like cherry on top as a testament just to Triple H's WWE in this case. I think he's been moving the needle for the company since he's been what is he, COO, CEO, whatever his position is.
Chief Content Creative Officer or something like that.
Yeah.
CCO.
Yep. So I mean, essentially chief of creative, so the creative direction of WWE. I think it's been the most enjoyable. It's been, I mean, I'll say 5 years again. 5 years, you know what I mean? As far as just like, or shit, even longer. But yeah, I mean, I would say it's well warranted. I think it's a good timing for it. Nice little surprise. So yeah, he definitely deserves it.
Andres, what do you think? Do you think it's the right time to induct him into the Hall of Fame? Do you think it should have happened sooner, later?
No, I feel like it's good timing for it. I do feel like with Triple H's schedule and how busy he is, I think that's where Shawn kind of was like the one that kind of was like, okay, you're doing this. Because Triple H is kind of like the guy that's like probably didn't want to do it maybe. Maybe he was like, maybe I'll put it as an afterthought for a little while, but you know.
Yeah, he probably feels like it's weird because like, okay, I'm in charge of creative. Oh, I'm going to induct myself. Yeah. Like that's weird position to be in, so someone else have to do it.
So it's fitting that his best friend basically is like the one that's coming forward and telling him, hey, we're going to do this for you. And it's well deserved. And, he's in DX and eventually he'll be with the Hall of Fame again with Evolution, but like recognizing his singles career and, like Chris said, moving the needle of the company. I mean, he's still doing it and he's like not even in the ring as active anymore either. So it's definitely time, I'd say.
I agree. And David, what do you think? Do you feel like Triple H's time is now, or how do you feel about Triple H getting inducted into this year's Hall of Fame?
I feel like it's right on time. I think any time between now and like whenever they decide to do it would be right on time. But like one thing that we can't take it as for like the too early kind of view is just like he can't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like that should be the stamp right there where it's like, okay, like he had a couple years, you know, he rested on it. They let other people in. They've had what, 2, 3 Hall of Fames since he's been in charge.
Yeah.
So like, you know, there is a little bit of a gap, and it's better to do it now. Like, why wait till, you know, like for example, for like why wait till it's like Scott Hall's time, or like any of those guys where it's just like they, you know, like he can do it. It's better to just go out there and get it over with, in the sense that like he's still young in Hall of Fame age, and yeah, dude, you know, deserves it. So
I agree. And I mean, just think about, and I think honestly, the actual one that he was only truly in charge of was last year, because even at 39, there were conversations about Vince McMahon maybe saying some creative decisions, you know, through like via phone to Bruce Pritchard, and there were those reports about those things happening. So that, and if you guys remember about WrestleMania 40, talking about, you know, the Triple H era, there was that whole promo. I think it was from Stephanie McMahon. So, I mean, theoretically, he's been only doing it for like a year. So this is going to be a second year in full creative control. And I agree. I think this is great timing, especially because of this whole new Triple H era. You know, this entire wrestling career. What better way to like kick off the era, or continue like making this new beginning, by inducting a man who has a Hall of Fame career, has had a Hall of Fame career for at least, you know, you could have inducted him like 10 years ago, around the same time as Shawn Michaels was inducted, but they just didn't do it. Well deserved. I mean, he's also had, you know, a heart attack, you know, like, so what, you want to wait when he had you know, he's dead? I'd rather him be inducted when he's still alive and he's able to be grateful and do a speech. I think everyone thinks that it makes sense. So in terms of who do you feel like should induct Triple H? Because there's a whole list of people that could potentially do it. It could be members from Evolution. It could be his wife Stephanie. It could be I mean, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. Chris, who do you think you would want to see induct him into the Hall of Fame?
Vinnie Mac. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not happening.
That'd be insane. That'd be pretty crazy. I feel like it would have to be Shawn Michaels. I think it needs to be Shawn Michaels, because ride or die, man. That's who they are. I mean, him or Stephanie, but if I had to put money on it, I would say, I bet you it's going to be Shawn Michaels, or it's going to be a group effort. Maybe it's going to be like the first time it's like 5 people or something inducting one man or something like that. It could be like a Avengers moment of like Evolution members, DX members. Maybe it's the entire board that shows up. Rock shows up. It's some crazy kind of like induction.
Nick Khan.
Yeah, Nick Khan. Yep. So I'm guessing it's going to be something a bit more outside the box of typical Hall of Fame. So we'll see.
David, what about you?
Regal.
Why Regal?
Regal has been a friend of Triple H since he was terrorizing.
He was one of the trainers too when he went to WCW, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he was he was part of NXT's creative force. And look at all the guys that are basically everybody in WWE at this point, except for the couple of guys from the outside and girls from the outside. It's like almost every star you see came from NXT and came from like the first batch of Dusty's. Like those are Dusty's kids, but those are Regal's and Triple H's as well.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't even think about William Regal. Dave or Andres, what about you? Who would you want to see induct into the Hall of Fame?
It's just got to be Shawn for me personally. I mean, you can't go wrong with Stephanie either. Also, good choice on David saying William Regal too, because I do remember hearing a lot of their history together. very long ago. But for me personally, it's just got to be Shawn because pretty much like I heard the story when Triple H first showed up to WWE, he was at a rent a car spot and like a van pulled up and it was like Shawn and Kevin and X Pac and Scott were like waving him to get in the car, and that was like his introduction in there. Was they knew he was coming, and I guess DDP was the one that told them like, hey, there's a really good guy coming here, like take care of him, like take him under your wing and stuff like that, show him the ropes of how they works over there and stuff. So I just feel like that dynamic of him and and Shawn being there with him pretty much when he showed up, I mean, it just makes more sense for me.
I agree. I think it's going to be either Shawn Michaels or Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie, obviously, his wife. That makes sense. She came out again during the Royal Rumble, so I feel like maybe she is back in some kind of executive capacity because she has been for at least the past two years. I think it's been like 2 years where she has not had any kind of executive power. I mean, officially, I feel like she probably offers or has some kind of input. She's a McMahon. I mean, they're not going to like deny her to go into WWE headquarters and be like, oh, you don't work here anymore. I highly doubt that.
Like, oh, you're looking for the old building.
Yeah, exactly. That's over there on that block. So we'll see. I think Stephanie B would good. I think Shawn Michaels, maybe the Click, members of the Click. I mean, who's left? Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash,
Sean Waltman.
Yeah,
Waltman. Yeah, I mean, maybe they would induct him. That's a big possibility.
Road Dogg.
Yeah, Road Dogg. Not
Billy
Mr.
Gunn.
Billy
Ass
Ass.
himself. Yeah, Mr. Billy Ass. I don't know if he'll be able to just because of the AEW thing. So I think Shawn Michaels or Stephanie McMahon is the most likely. And well, if you feel like, what kind of speech do you expect Triple H to do? Do you think it's going to be like career specific? I mean, I don't even know. Like, do you think it's going to be like an hour long speech like Undertaker, where he kind of walked around? It felt like a sermon, honestly. He had like the microphone around this thing. I thought he was gonna, preach to me or sell me a timeshare, but or like a Paul Heyman. I don't think he's gonna do a Paul Heyman type speech. But what do you guys
He
think?
comes out in different gimmicks.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
He said,
Comes
out.
"Suck
Be a
my
standard speech."
F and D."
Comes
Yeah,
out
like
as
Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
John Paul Levesque.
I feel like he's gonna go off the cuff a bit. I mean, it's gonna be probably like a just kind of feel the vibe thing, and maybe he's gonna glaze WWE and kind of where it's going. Maybe he'll use it more as like a PR thing for the company and some kumbaya moment or something like that, rather than like kind of like talking about himself or something. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
I think it's going to be kind of like the way that he carries himself during the press conferences. I think some of that is going to reflect his speech at the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's going to be that off the cuff like Paul Heyman, just because he is like an executive. He's a head honcho. And so like you could give Paul Heyman a pass because like, hey, you're a coworker, but not if you're in charge of the whole thing. They don't want your top guy saying, crazy things.
Starting a DX skit.
Yeah, DX skit or style promo. I mean, we'll see. Maybe not. Like maybe they are super lax about it. Who knows? But I think it's going to be definitely a little more formal.
I feel like he's the kind of guy that kind of wanted it to be, like you said, formal. Like everyone else is going to want to make a bigger spectacle of it than he would.
Everybody else is gonna just keep trying to break his like character. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what do you think about? I know like it's highly unlikely for Triple H to have an actual retirement match, and I mean his last match that wasn't really. What was his last match anyway? Was it like in 20? Was it in Saudi Arabia? Randy Orton.
Yeah.
If it was your ideal person to retire him, who do you feel like should have been his final match?
Shawn Michaels.
Someone from NXT. Well, that was NXT.
Someone that can get a rub, maybe.
CM Punk. Nah.
I mean, that would have been cool.
like just someone who's active in the roster right now?
I mean,
Or like theoretically, like
whatever,
anyone?
like whatever you would want it to be. This is
Oh,
purely fantasy booking.
I mean, I think just for the sake of, I don't think he needs to, put the rub on anybody. I don't think for a retirement match. I don't think that's necessarily a thing that needs to happen. But it comes down to kind of the state of the product at that moment. So that always kind of dictates where that kind of a match should potentially go. But, since we're just talking fantasy, honestly, yeah, like Shawn Michaels or somebody like that in their twilight years, like now seeing that match, probably wouldn't want to see it. But, especially after all that, it just wouldn't be the same. But yeah, peak, or at least like 10 years ago, something like that. That would have been a interesting match.
It would have been too early for him 10 years ago.
Yeah.
To retire?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's what, 53? 55?
He'd probably be retiring around like in the last not between 2020 and now.
Yeah, probably like 5 years ago. He would have been doing like a final tour.
Yeah. It'd be like, it would have probably been either Roman or Rollins.
John Cena too. They've had a long feud too.
Yeah, but they don't do nothing.
Yeah. That's true. I guess it feels like 5 years ago, yeah. And then you want to give like Rollins and Reigns another bump. I think that would have been the right move.
If we're gonna do an old guy, outside of old guys, or like or if it went to an old guy like an Orton or a Cena, it should have went to like Styles or Punk.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, one like outside the box, yes, I would say. Oh, sorry, Marcel.
No, go for it.
There was one. He actually said in an interview that he wished he had worked with them because they were always in the company at the same time as each other. He's never had like a rivalry or a match with Rey Mysterio. He said.
Right.
Is that true?
Yeah,
that's what he said. He was like, "Yeah, we were both in the company. We just never, rivaled each other. We never worked together."
And they were always on opposite brands. Ray was on SmackDown, and Triple H, for the most part, was on Raw until like 2008 with Jeff Hardy and all that shit.
But it was kind of hard to believe, but he was the one that said it himself. He's like, I always wish I wrestled him. I was like, damn.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was almost never on SmackDown with the exception of that like year that he was there because they wanted to shake things up or do it for the ratings. And then he went back to Raw not too long after that. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting one. I agree. I think it should have been Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins if it was happening 5 years ago. Now, I don't think I would want to see it, especially with his health. And I think he has a pacemaker and all that stuff. Like, let's not put him through that. And I don't think anyone or any of the shareholders would want to do that either. Because they're like, you're our bread and butter. We need the creative. We don't want you to die. So, I agree.
Shit, even Cody.
Yeah, I mean, Cody Rhodes would have been a good one.
Cody could have smashed the throne and came back to no heart attack and done it.
Right, exactly. Like that would have been an interesting story if everything counts in wrestling now, and that would have been a good way to create a feud. I agree. Well, it's Triple H episode